Let's start with education. So, in the early days of augmented reality, we thought, all right, so now that we can figure out where things exist in the world, why don't we just kind of create these experiences that just exist on top of them? So why don't we take existing physical media that students are already using in a classroom and create an augmented experience on top of that? And we're actually starting to do that. This is an example earth science textbook that's being used in Thailand right now. And what students can do is they can hold up a webcam on their computer or hold up their mobile phone in front of it, and in addition to being able to read about the objects inside of the book, they can create 3D experiences that exist within the book themselves. So you can see here, in a moment they're going to show an example of how sonar actually works, how the shocks of an earthquake would actually affect the crust, mantle, and core. There's an example of how sonar works, all existing within the book space itself. But what about creating things that are more interactive? What about making these things so that they're not only passive experiences, but you can also contribute to that space? And so there's a lot of work going on with this right now. I won't play the entire video here. This is a chemistry simulation using augmented reality, where chemistry students can hold up different atoms next to each other, and based on the proximity of the atoms in the real space, they can actually form different molecules. So it's a way to create basic chemistry experiments and simulations within an augmented space. And the great thing about this, it's a completely disruptive technology because it's all software. So the teachers who want to use this will go to a web page, print out the little markers on a laser printer, and they're done. There's nothing special about this at all. It's just that our computers are fast enough to actually make it happen. There's also a lot of work going on right now in physics and also architecture and design. This is a bit larger than these marker-based applications. What's actually happening here is a designer here is sketching on a piece of paper with a pencil and paper. And what happens is the computer's camera is able to pick up what they sketch and model it in 3 dimensions. So imagine being able to sketch your own designs in 2 dimensions and then watch as they're extrapolated out in 3D in real time. To be able to have the computer be smart enough so that you don't have to go into a modeling program and actually model, you can sketch as you normally would and simulate actual processes inside of your notebook automatically. So a pretty incredible future that we have here in terms of access to materials for students. And then in biology and medicine, there's a ton of work going on for training. This is an MRI scan. And MRI scans have multiple levels of scans. What you can do with this is with a model of a brain, you can actually adjust what level of the scan you want to look at to co-locate the regions of the brain that are being visible at any one time inside. I did some work recently with virtual theater. I worked with a middle school teacher who was teaching A Midsummer Night's Dream in South Brunswick Middle School, and she had her students creating their own costumes using just pen and paper and crayons. And then what they were doing is they scanned them in, and we created augmented reality costumes for them, so the kids could actually perform in front of a smart board, and it would augment them using the costumes that they designed themselves. But then the big one I've been working on recently is this thing called ZooBurst. ZooBurst is a way to let kids build their own 3D pop-up books using augmented reality. Most of the things you've seen so far have all been things that media producers have created for general consumption. But what I wanted to do is try to reverse the paradigm a little bit and give the creative power back to the people who are actually going to be consuming the content. So rather than talk too much about ZooBurst, I'll just show it to you. It's all available online. Anyone can use it. It's totally free. This is ZooBurst. I'm going to start it up. Kids can create little pop-up books that look something like this. So you can put your own little characters out there. They can be placed in 3D space. You can rotate around them. You can incorporate your own little audio clips inside of them.
Cluck, 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 I'm a chicken.
Do a little South Park style animation inside of there, and you can have your pages fold out over multiple pages. But the really cool thing is that if you have a webcam installed on your computer, you can turn on your webcam. And I'm just going to allow it. I'm going to use the webcam built into my monitor again. And you have this little magic ZB symbol, your own book that you created. Will fly out of the symbol, and you can move it around inside a 3D space. And it still works. The pages will still fold over. They'll still pop out in 3D. And if you don't have the symbol, you can get rid of it. And we can put it on the screen, and you can actually control it using gestures. So I can take my hands. If I want to go left and right, I can just swipe in the air, and we can actually use augmented reality to detect and infer my desires from my motions in the physical world. And then, like I said, this is designed for kids, so everything is drag and drop. So you want to add a cat to a book, Anyone can search for cats. You can upload your own photos, place them in 3D. Everything is designed to be as simple as possible so that we can create these larger experiences. And I'll show you how this is being used not only in schools, but also by media creators. We have a large-scale mobile augmented reality project going on right now in Istanbul. And we have media artists who are using this building technology to create mobile experiences as you walk around the streets of Istanbul to create these sorts of virtual overlays that exist within the real world. So we're really big right now. ZooBurst has over 44,000 kids around the world using it. We grow by about 1,000 a month. We were featured in the Horizon Report, which is a pretty influential new media publication put out by the New Media Consortium. We have an installation at the Telfair Museum of Art in Georgia. School Library Journal mentioned us last year, and we actually just won the American Association for School Librarians Best Website for Teaching and Learning this year. So, it's a really big project, and we're just keep going in all sorts of different directions. Actually, your faculty member, John Kapp, and I actually are the brains behind this. John and I are constantly refining this and trying to find new ways to bring all of this together under the same house. But it's being used a lot. Just some quick examples. In Kentucky, they're using it as a way for students who are in lower school, in kindergarten, first grade, working with older students to create collaborative stories. They're using augmented reality to present these books. Over in Egypt, I have a small private school that's using ZooBurst to create ways to illustrate the differences between the digital divide and how it disproportionately affects the first and the third worlds. And they're using blogs to actually create larger conversations around the experiences that they're creating. Here at TCNJ, I used to teach a class for kids with intellectual disabilities, and we used it as part of an electronic portfolio initiative, where students would create their own pop-up books that would go into an electronic portfolio to talk about what they learned here during their modified curriculum and what they're planning on doing when they leave TCNJ. And right now, we have a pilot program in the Modern Language Department where all introductory Spanish students are going to be using ZooBurst as a way to create children's stories and narrate them using their own audio. And then my favorite is this digital storytelling project. The greatest thing about ZooBurst is I had no idea what was going to happen when we just released it. And this teacher in Murmansk, Russia, picked it up. And she liked it so much as a creative writing tool for her kids, they took these screenshots and sent them to me, that they introduced them at a digital storytelling conference in Russia. And now they have about 53 schools across the country creating digital stories that talk about how architecture, art, and history have affected those different regions of Russia. And they're using ZooBurst to bring it all together to create an augmented reality experience based off of that. Have you guys seen this before? This is the greatest invention that's come out in the last 2 years, in my opinion. This is called the LiveScribe pen. It's not billed as augmented reality, but it's augmented reality. This thing is a pen. I have it right here. You can write on a piece of paper with it. But the cool thing about it is it has a ton of toys built into it, including a little camera that actually tracks everything that you write on a piece of paper. But the cool thing about that camera is there are controls actually printed on the piece of paper. And what this pen will do is, as you're writing, will record what's being said in the room around you. And it will actually create an audio layer of augmented reality that exists on your piece of paper. So you imagine you're in a lecture hall, you're taking notes from your professor. You don't really know what those notes mean. You can tap on your words and hear what the professor said at that very moment, that ink was committed to the piece of paper. So it's pretty incredible to see how we can take all of these virtual tools that we have and bring them together, merge them with the physical media that we have access to, and be able to really further engage with the content around us. All right, so let's talk about mobile then. So far we've been doing things that exist on the computer itself, but just to take a quick look back, the ENIAC computer, which came out in 1945, was a behemoth, 100 feet long, 8 feet tall, weighed 30 tons. It took days to program and hours to run the programs that you would create. The ENIAC computer right now is about 60,000 times slower than an iPhone that you have in your pocket. And to put that into further comparison, an iPhone is 600 times faster than the computer that sent a man to the moon. So we're really talking about an incredible amount of compute power that's sitting in our pockets at all times. So using the mobile device is really the natural extension, the natural next step for being able to create these experiences as you move around space. So a lot of these early augmented reality applications did something like this, where you would have a mobile device that would basically figure out where you are and create location overlays. So as you moved around to space, you would be able to further navigate yourself. So this is one I actually used a lot in New York when I first started doing my grad program there. It's a subway finder that uses the compass and the GPS on your phone. So as I move around and I hold up the phone, I'll be able to look around the space and see if I was to continue to walk in this direction, I can hit the B line, or I can hit the C line, and I can actually get on the subway that I want. So it allows me to create that data display that it interfaces with the space in which I'm currently in. And then there's a lot of work going on right now with connecting existing content that we have on the internet to locations. So in Wikipedia, people are starting to tag Wikipedia articles to specific locations using GPS coordinates. And based off of that, there's an app you can download for free called Wikitude World Browser, which allows you to walk around a space and see what Wikipedia knows about that space. To be able to, instead of going out to Google and searching for something, have all that stuff come back to you and to be placed within the context in which you're currently existing. And you as media designers, those of you who are IMMers or anyone really, are starting to get access to these tools. There are off-the-shelf tools that you can use now to create your own experiences with fairly little programming abilities. So this is an application called Junaio. They're a company based out of Munich, but they have an office in San Francisco that we've been working with recently. And what Junaio allows you to do is allows you to create your own layers on top of the world. You can do not only GPS compass, but also marker-based applications. I'll show you one that I created in a moment. This is an example of what you can do with Junaio. You can take any image you want. So this could be the front of a magazine that you've published, an article that you've created, a drawing that you've made, and you can choose what sort of content you want to appear when viewed through your phone. So here's a Muybridge photo, and you can see here that we put a galloping horse on top of it. The horse doesn't really exist, but we've told Junaio that whenever you see a horse in that orientation, we can place that horse on top of it. And this is something that you guys could fairly easily access now, and the tools are getting better and better every day. So right now we're working on a big mobile project called Mechanics of Place. This is a project that's actually running right now in Istanbul. And what Mechanics of Place is doing is we're placing these tiny little markers all across the city that are tied to different categories: time, names, nature, collection, stratum, structure. And then we have a group of media artists who are working around Turkey to create experiences using ZooBurst as a way to construct them. When viewed through a phone, each of these little markers will show a small image, and when tapped on, will show all the different experiences that have been created by those media artists. Now, every media artist has their own little map so they can see where things are, but these things are all throughout the space. So the public can very easily, if they have a mobile device, interface with the experiences that the artists are creating around the space. And so far, we have a few hundred that are working right now, and it's pretty exciting, and we're going to try to expand it to new cities in the very near future. There are also works of creating public spaces that don't currently showcase pieces of art, and we're trying to convert them into public show spaces. So this is the Virtual Public Art Project. It uses a technology called LAR, and what it does is it allows sculpture artists to create 3D renditions of their content and to place them into open parks and fields around the world so that when viewed through your mobile device, you can actually enter into a virtual sculpture garden that doesn't exist unless you pull up the correct channel. And they've installed these things in multiple spots around the world, even sometimes without the permissions of the local government, because it's just a GPS coordinate. So. And then there's a lot of work for education as well. There's the Google Sky Map and all these other applications that allow you to interface with the natural world around you and to be able to make better sense of it. So with Sky Map, I can actually hold up my phone at the sky and actually see what constellation I'm looking at. It knows where I am in the space. I can actually tap in, where's Mars? And it says, turn your phone this way, and it'll actually point you towards the celestial body that you're most interested in. There's a lot of work going on right now in terms of using augmented reality for commercial and advertising applications, because I read a report this morning that certain ad campaigns that have come out recently have skyrocketed sales for the products that they're associated with. So let me just show you a few. One of the first that came out was the Esquire magazine ad campaign. It came out about a year ago. Before you can go into the second one. So let's go ahead and launch this. So you're going to see me in my little magic mirror over here, and I hold up Robert Downey Jr. and...
Hurrah! Booyah! In your face! And bless your soul, welcome to the augmented reality issue of Esquire magazine. My name is Robert Downey Jr. And hurrah!
Let's close out of him because he gets very annoying very fast. So the cool thing about this is that multiple pages inside of this magazine are triggered using the augmented reality capabilities. So you can go to different pages inside of here and learn more about the products, learn more about the articles by holding them up in front of your computer. Now, a terrible, almost not the greatest design choice here, because you're actually holding the content here and you have to peer around the content that you're holding to your camera in order to see what's actually happening. But as we move forward in terms of being able to do more of this on our mobile devices, these things are going to get to be a lot easier to produce. Some other projects that I've worked on recently. Last summer, I released I was working with an ad agency, and we released an augmented reality application for Target. So we worked with Target to model the new look and feel of their stores. So I worked with a team of 3D animators, and then I created the augmented reality experience that actually went out in national newspapers. So the Target logo was actually printed in the newspapers. Users could go to the Target website, hold up the newspaper that they just got in the mail to their webcam, and watch as Target, the new stores, unfolded out of the newspaper itself, and you can inspect 5 different departments that way. I'll show you one of the departments that I created. This is, I think I got the grocery section. Let's see, Target. And then the marker for Target is here. There we go. There's no sound on this one. The one on the web does have sound. But you hold it up, the Target logo unfolds, and the Target areas will come out of here. And there are 5 different departments, and you could choose when you go to the website which one you want it to come out. But just a way to kind of bring awareness to how things were going to be changing, and a fun way to kind of do that. And then when it goes away, it just kind of folds up and leaves. Some other ad campaigns that have been pretty popular and pretty successful. Adidas ran a great one last year, or the year before, where they incorporated augmented reality tags into the soles of their shoes. And when you held up your shoe in front of your computer, Adidas Town came out, and all these crazy characters started playing. You could play games. Again, a really weird interface element, because imagine you're holding a smelly shoe in front of your face, and you're using it as a game controller to move around this space. But the tongue of the shoe actually turned out to be very trackable and very easy to interface with a webcam. Unfortunately, this is not a project I work on. I actually was part of the initial concept stage, but someone else actually ended up developing it. Honey Nut Cheerios created an augmented reality box for their cereal. Inside of this, I have the back of the box here. Kids would cut out the back of the box, and there was a symbol on it, and you can use it to move the honeybee around a series of games. So the one that's being shown there is you're actually moving the honeybee, the world opens up, he's in a Wild West scene, and you're actually moving left and right to avoid obstacles by physically manipulating the box itself. The post office is doing something like this too. This is actually probably one of the most useful augmented reality applications. I think I'm being told that I need to wrap this up. So 2 seconds, I think I have 2 more slides. If you've ever needed to ship something from the post office, you can hold up an AR tag and it'll create a holographic box around you, and you can actually see what will fit inside of their box to go along with their new campaign. If it fits, it ships. And then Lego has created this really cool one where you can hold up a box and the Legos will assemble themselves. So real quick, what's the future? We're going to see a lot more of this augmented reality stuff on our set tops, but really the future is in mobile. Mobile devices are really going to be taking this world by storm. The top 10 wireless predictions for this year, augmented reality comes in as number 2 as one of the newest things and the things that retailers are really looking for in terms of creating advanced mobile experiences. And the real future of this in 5 to 7 years is going to be integrated eyewear. So we're talking about sunglasses, other contact lenses, things that we can use to actually bring the experience even closer to us, to further blur the world, the virtual and the real worlds. So if you need any more information or you're interested, feel free to check out my blog, craigkapp.com, and thank you very much. All right.
So I think, as you just heard, we were very fortunate to have Craig here for his talk today. We are also very fortunate to have him sticking around to do a hands-on workshop in how to get started with AR. It's going to be over across the way in the Art and IMM building in room 202, starting at 1 o'clock. Thanks again, Craig.